The chair at this time lays down House Bill 2608, members, and recognizes the Honorable Linda Harper-Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity to lay out HB 2608. Members, thank you so much. This is the sunset bill for the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. The Sunset Commission concluded that Texas has an ongoing need for the functions of TDHCA, particularly in dispersing federal funds. However, it was also noted that changes are needed to improve several of the agency's programs. HB 2608 requires better upfront planning to avoid delays in getting disaster recovery funds to hard-hit Texas communities. Currently, TDHCA and the Texas Department of Rural Affairs, under the supervision of the Governor's Office, administer the federal long-term recovery dollars to help communities rebuild housing and infrastructure following major storms. Numerous delays have limited the effectiveness of this program and slowed down assistance to communities. The bill requires all parties, including state agencies, the Governor's Office, and local communities, to do more extensive planning to reduce these delays in the future. The bill also removes impediments to the effective awarding of Texas low-income housing tax credits. In particular, it changes the statutory criteria for awarding points to applicants in the Texas low-income housing tax credit program. It continues to allow input from neighborhood organizations on these project applications, but awards key points based on more formal input from the local city council or the commissioner's court. The bill also continues to allow input from state senators and representatives on proposed projects, but eliminates the requirement for letters of support from them. It provides for more consistency in TDHCA's enforcement process. It transfers the department's penalty appeals hearings to the State Office of Administrative Hearings, and authorizes the department to debar developers with bad histories from participation in all housing programs. The bill improves the state's oversight of manufactured home installations. The safety of a manufactured home relies on it being properly installed, and current law only requires the department to inspect 25% of all installations. This bill increases the inspection requirement to 75% of installations and requires the department to use third-party inspectors beginning in 2015 if they cannot meet the 75% inspection goal. The licensing of individuals in the manufactured housing industry is strengthened and streamlined. Among other changes, the bill adjusts current educational requirements to ensure each licensee and retail location receives appropriate education. It streamlines the complaint refund process, improves enforcement against unlicensed operators, requires effective criminal background checks, and eliminates unnecessary license types. It also continues the TDHCA for 12 years. And members, there's someone here from Sunset staff as a resource witness to answer any questions that you might have regarding some of the more detailed information in this bill. But I am happy to answer any questions that I can, and would reserve the right to close too. Any questions? Mr. Calgary.
Linda, we had an earlier conversation. I have a couple of things I'd like for you to consider in this bill. I'd like for the committee to consider. One is that there was in the existing legislation a provision that community support as determined on the basis of written statements from state representatives, senators that may either oppose or encourage the project, approve the project. I would like to suggest that you consider reinstating that provision that was repealed in this. And also, there's a comment about written statements from any neighborhood organizations are part of the priority ranking, if you will, at level B. And that was changed and brought down to level J. I would also ask that that be reinstated at the level B, so we give it a higher level of prominence. So the two issues are to allow the community associations more input at a higher level, and then still allow state representatives and senators the ability to comment on projects, either pro or opposed.
Right, and I really would encourage the committee to let me know how they feel about those two issues. I will tell you that when it came to the neighborhood letters and responses, I really fought hard to keep it in the scoring altogether because there was a recommendation to take it out where it did not count at all, and I did not think that was appropriate. I felt like these local neighborhoods had a right to be able to voice their opinions about this and to have it matter, to have it count in this scoring range. And so they did move it down, but if the committee would like to move it back up, then that's certainly something that I don't have a problem with. The other part that I wanted to talk about, though, and I do appreciate you coming to me with these suggestions beforehand, but the way that the current statute reads is that the TDHCA shall take into consideration any letter that is written by a state representative or a senator. What this bill does is it takes it, again, out of that scoring range so that there wouldn't be a score on it, but it would still say in statute that whatever your recommendation is, whether it's for or against, it has to be weighed by the commission by the agency to then, to count, at least it has to be weighed on each development. So again, if the committee's direction is that they want their input to count within the scale, then please let me know that so we can make those necessary changes. It was felt by the members of the commission that many of them didn't feel like that should be the determining factor. So I'm open to whatever the committee would like to do on that.
But I would comment that my understanding at least that was just one of the other issues that would be considered. And I know also that it's not always opposed. It's I know some cases in my community where where the Letters of Help project was along. Thank you.
You want to go ahead and check on it? Okay. At this point, the chair calls in testifying for John Henneberger, which is he plans to testify for, and we plan to testify. Oh, representing Texas Low-Income Housing Information Service.
Madam Chair, members, my name is John Henneberger. I'm the co-director of the Texas Low-Income Housing Information Service, a non-government organization that works on affordable housing policy. I'm here today to testify for the bill to reauthorize the Texas Department of Housing and Community Development that you have before you today. I think the Sunset Advisory Commission and the Sunset staff did an excellent job of reviewing the issues that were facing the housing agency. I believe that the reforms are appropriate. With regard to the member letters, I take no position on that, and I know there are strong feelings on both sides, and that's nothing that we have a particularly strong position on. With regard to the question of neighborhood association scoring, Mr. Caligari, I appreciate your concern and your standing up for the neighborhood's interests in these matters. We have a concern about the fair housing impacts and the exclusionary pattern of housing development that is occurring right now under the tax credit program. We believe that there are neighborhoods, there are communities in this state where low-income housing tax credit developments are necessary for the workforce population, and that they have not been able to enter those communities because of very effective organized neighborhood opposition. Respect the neighborhoods in that regard, but I also respect the notion that people should be given an opportunity to live where there is opportunity and where there are jobs and where there are good schools, and that all communities should be integrated. The state of Texas has been the subject of a number of lawsuits, not brought by myself or my organization, but others, with regards to discriminatory impacts of the policies under the tax credit program and the exclusionary effects of the distribution of that housing. We've commissioned studies through the University of Texas Planning Department, which have demonstrated that low-income housing tax credit developments are greatly underrepresented in high opportunity, higher income, and higher achieving school districts. And that is a problem for the tenants who want their children to go to good schools and who want to be able to access the jobs and the security, excuse me, and the amenities that exist in those communities. The decision to place to leave the neighborhood consideration for scoring in the Sunset Bill, I think is a very appropriate one. Neighborhoods should be listened to, communities should be listened to. But making it the second highest scoring criteria under financial feasibility, which is essentially a threshold criteria anyway, so making neighborhood opposition the default most important factor on whether or not a tax credit development gets built or not, is a serious impediment to fair housing and deprives low-income families of choices that they need for their families. So I believe it needs to be in there. I just don't believe it needs to be at the very top of the criteria. But I do very much support the continuation of the housing agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sure, Mr. Caligari.
The way that the rating process works with respect to the
Chairman Caligari, I think probably I should let the department do that, because every time I try to explain it, I get mixed up. I do know community letters are the second highest criteria under financial feasibility, and the order in which they appear in the legislation is the order in which they must be ranked in the criteria. And but I believe I should probably defer to the department just so I don't give wrong information.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Caligari.